All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, wherever you may be. My name is Logan, your tour guide. This is Decode Your Reality. I have my main man, Jordan from Waters Above, which I'm delighted to join together with because it's been a very long time since it seems like it's been forever since we got together. And this is so common for us because I call him on the phone, he calls me back. Hey, you want to do a podcast? Sure. And here we are. So now we literally we make things happen that quickly. So Jordan, welcome out, bro. Always a pleasure to join forces with you. And this is going to be a great conversation because we haven't talked really. Normally we have a 2 hour conversation and say, hey, let's do a podcast. And we have all the 2 hours of commentary we didn't even record. So here we are being able to join forces. What's going on in your part of the world? Where are you at? What's going on, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to reconnect with you. I can't believe how long it's been since we last connected. It's almost necessary though, like sometimes you need those breaks from sharing all the information that me and you are compiling on our own and sharing with our audiences. And it's just always bound to be whenever we get together to have a great conversation. I'm doing great. I mean, I've been tuning into your live streams as much as possible. Always love what you have to share. So,
Thank you.
other than that, man, I'm just working on my own projects, staying busy, trying to not get distracted in all the bread and circus on the world stage. And what about you?
Yeah. Well, it's great to hear. And I thank you so much for your support on my podcast. And likewise, I try to get on your lives and sit in the background. I don't really, sometimes I like to be coming on there and say stuff. Because a lot of times I just like to put you on and listen as I go. And I don't, because it's so easy to get distracted by comments. I feel like when people come into podcasts, they get too involved and I'm not saying it's wrong to do that, but they get involved with the texting back and forth and they just miss the message for, the sole reason why they came on there was to listen to the person speaking or the people speaking. So I like to just kick back and not have the chat and look at the chat and engage in the chat. Just listen to, just listen. In this case, it would be listening to you. And I think you do you're born to do what you do, which is one of the reasons why I love watching you in action. you know, so
Oh,
it's,
that really means the world to me, brother. I appreciate that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the brotherly love, man. It's amazing to listen to people who you're influenced by, without any quirks, and you know what you're going to get, really. But you know what's great about you is that I think there's so many people out there that come in and listen to you, and your numbers speak for themselves. But when you get people asking you questions, it's such a diverse conversation, which is why I love tuning into your podcasts, your lives, because it's so diverse. You go into so many different areas of life, and I get so inspired, and I can take little things that you say or somebody says and to start decoding it. And I love doing that
Hmm.
stuff. I love doing it. So I'm a little selfish when I tune in because I'm looking for things to decode, but at the same
Oh,
time,
I
I
know
get
that.
the
I know
beautifulness
that
of
life.
what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since we've been together. This is a fun time for us here. We're going to limit this podcast to just an hour and a half. So I have the timer on. I'm going to let everybody know here when we're getting close to that. We're not going to go our typical marathons that we have been doing. And Jordan, you've been doing the marathons on your lives too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been also sort of limiting, and it's not even the right word to say limiting because just even offering 30 or 45 minutes of time with some of the context that we're putting in, some of the subject matter that we discuss on live streams. I mean, it's more than enough, but I've been offering myself 2 to 3 hours every week for 150 weeks straight or something like that. And last week
Wow.
was one of the first times that I decided to take the weekend off. And I'm so glad that I did it because I got to spend time with my mom and it just really reset a lot of things that I've been thinking about and kind of asking myself what direction I want to take what I'm doing and to not be disconnected from my origins and where I came from and like, the bigger things in life, bigger than just showing up and sharing so many hours of my time and for, I mean, I don't really know how sustainable that is, to be completely honest. I don't know if it's sustainable for me to be doing this for the next 150 weeks in the future, spending 3 hours straight. So yeah, I've been trying my best to get it closer to two, and eventually over time, I mean, I have to be cautious because just my voice, man, like I spend so much time talking. A lot of people might not be aware of how many client calls I have every week, and I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I have an hour long minimum podcast that I do on Sundays as well. So I'm trying not to burn out. I just want to be the best version of myself and deliver the best value I possibly can. And in order to do that, I can't be dragging myself to the microphone. And yeah, I think I'm maybe getting better at talking about ideas and summarizing things a little quicker. You
Yeah.
probably know this life when you have so much to share and you have so many ideas, and I sense it in you as well, which is awesome. And it's a reason I love listening to your streams of consciousness, because I know you could go down so many other, lanes with one single idea, and that's your gift. And I very much can do the same. And sometimes it's like, well, where's the utility in all this information? And I've been asking myself that over the past 3 years of like, how do I deliver truth? How do I deliver this gnosis so that whoever tunes into it could walk away with something that they could use in their everyday life?
Mm. Good pointers, because when you're consciously aware of what you're doing, I think that's the big key in life, is to be consciously aware of your objective as you move through your objective, not deviating away from that. Obviously, being able to have flair and moving away from certain areas that you're talking about into other areas that you're talking about, but the objective remains as utility. I know you use that word quite a bit, utility, and it really gets the point across. And when you stick to that utility, you're able to deliver your content to people, I think, much more in a function-based aspect. So that's really beautiful. So, Jordan, tell me, like, tell the audience something that you got really inspired by in the past couple weeks that you're doing. Maybe it's from a client call,
Hmm.
maybe from a situation, or something you're decoding,
Yeah.
something like that.
Wow, great question. One thing that's hit the world stage, and because I'm a big fan of hip hop music and just music in general, was this whole back and forth between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. And it actually, it was very excruciating for me to watch, because as a fan of the genre, and just, I guess I don't want to say a fan of Kendrick Lamar in particular, but just I support a lot of the art that has come from that particular individual. And I've never really been much of a follower of Drake's art, but needless to say, I mean, it was kind of just watching two grown boys go back and forth in this drama festival. And it was sad to see humanity give so much energy to that. But then it reminded me of another thing, which is like, well, that's what they're there for. Like, they're entertainers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to forecast. Uh, I guess what I want to say is I don't know who Kendrick Lamar is. I guess by listening to all of his music over the past couple of years, I thought he was like bigger than that. But
Hmm.
then I saw that like conflict is still within some of the greats. It's still within those who are wise. And you very much know me at this point, that I've almost like made it my life's purpose to avoid the conflict while
Yeah.
still sharing my truth. Like, I don't want to be in the back and forth with all the drama that goes on in
Yep.
the so-called truther community. It's fucking boring to me. It's
Yeah.
like energetically exhausting. And at this point, I'm allergic to it. So when I see some of the people that I look up to still giving it that, pulling out the Mars card,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess it made me self-reflect. I had to self-reflect for a moment and be like, do I even enjoy what's going on right now? Or is this no longer resonating with where I'm at in my process today? So
Yeah.
that was ultra inspiring. And I would love to pass that back to you, but before, maybe just share something to be vulnerable about myself. Like, I've realized in my whole life that I was always inspired the most in the direction of not wanting to be or do something that someone else did. Like, I saw people smoking cigarettes when I was younger, and I was never interested in that. Like I thought that looked lame, even though everyone else thought it was cool, and then people copied people to emulate that. Like my whole life has been quite the opposite, where I've always seen things that were done popularly, and I was like, no, that's not the way. So has your life ever been like that with anything?
Oh, absolutely. So many times. One of the things I have to check myself with is completely critiquing the world outside of me all the time. And I
Mm,
mean it all the time. It's, being raised JW, you're embedded with this programming of it's you against the world. And you're always comparing yourself against the world because when you start to follow what the church has to say, you're looking for the devil outside of you and you're comparing. So
hmm.
anything that is not you or the church, you compare and you start to critique. And so I completely know what you're talking about. And it's very freeing when you stop doing that. It's a very
Yeah.
freeing activity, but it's challenging to get rid of the programming. I would say a lot of you that listen right now to this podcast, you're being challenged with that aspect of not critiquing the world around you, not critiquing people. Um, you know, I think if we really were saying what was on our mind, we would create a lot more enemies, but people don't say what they're thinking. So are we being authentic? Are we being authentic human beings by holding back what we're really thinking and not saying? Well, I would say no, we're
Yeah.
being inauthentic because people don't know what's on your mind. I mean, you sitting there listening to somebody and you're like, oh, that person's asleep. You won't tell them that to their face, but you're thinking it in your mind as they're having this conversation with you. And we judge and we do this and we just do these inauthentic things as human beings. And I think it's kind of comical, to be honest. And I even laugh at myself when I do these things because I'm not immune to it. I catch
Yeah.
myself doing these things.
Yeah. That's the best way to be though, right? Like to just laugh at yourself.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I
Because
think
it's
life
like the
is joy.
moment you take it seriously and you let it control you, then you're no longer in mastery. Like you're being mastered.
You're being mastered. Yeah. So I'm like you, dude. I don't want to say I'm repelled by some of these people out there that I used to hang out with, here on, and not even in person because most of my life's online, but there are certain people that are big on the world stage now that I don't follow anymore due to them just, living a life of trying to be right and prove others wrong. And I just don't resonate with that. I used to be
Yeah.
one of those people. I used to be heavily involved in trying to prove everybody wrong, trying to be right. And I know sometimes it looks like I come across that way too. I have to put myself in check. And sometimes I fail in the sense of failing where maybe somebody would say, oh, you're still doing it now, Logan. Yeah, maybe that's the case. I'm not perfect. So I try to get it right. But I definitely am now about hanging out and associating with people that have turned off the news. They're not influenced by being reactive, and their influence and the way they're marketing their lives is based on their specific code and not somebody else's. So that's what I love about
Hmm.
you. That's what you do. you know, you're putting out your code according to your code, not your code by programmed code from something outside of you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I'm really on my process of like just being as yeah, checking in a lot. Like you use that term and I love it. Like I am checking in a lot and I think the matrix feeds you exactly what it needs to at the time and then you either have to like indulge in it or you have to like say pass,
Yep.
right? Like if a friend hands you uh a bowl of grapes or a crack pipe, it's like that's up to you which one you're going to take. But
Yep.
like we see the way the world makes choices, it's typically in the lane of acidity. I know you talk about this a lot too. Like to be alkaline would burn calories and would require discipline, but that's clearly lacking in man. And I'm not here to point out what is lacking in man. Moreover, I'm just here to set the example of what I feel is true and in harmony with the all. And this recent event that happened that I was giving an example of, it was super influential in that way where I got to see inside of myself like even the things that you enjoy, they have an aspect that you're graduating from or I don't even like using that term because it sounds egoic, but I think every listener here kind of can see where I'm coming from with all of this. It's me trying to stay in my creative essence and not falling for the, the drama pit of it all. And it's very much no different than indulging in politics.
Yeah.
It's just happening in the entertainment industry. But I think, bro, over this past however many months it's been since me and you have connected, it's been full force, hasn't it? Like the distractions,
Woo.
everything that's happening, it's mind-boggling.
It
Like, what are
is.
some of the things that have been showing up in your world lately that have been like not tempting you, but that have maybe your audience or just people around you or whatever have been putting on your plate, and you've had to make that tough decision of like, do I indulge in this? Do I share my take on it, or do I hold back? Like, has there been anything like that for you lately?
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of people I get contacted by that want me to do decodes for them, or they have a decode they want me to look at, and it's mainly involving the mainstream. That's the main thing. It's not anything really esoteric. It's mainstream. It's what's going on around you that's influencing you. And I get tempted by, oh, this looks really good. Like, I could easily look at the news tabloids every day, or I can look at some emails people send me asking me to decode certain things, and they're mainly mainstream, and I could jump on that, and I could, and I my ego's like, oh yeah, you know how many likes and subscriptions you may get from putting out this decode.
Yeah.
And I put my and I realize I go back to my rooted aspect, and that is I'm not in this for the likes and subscriptions. I'm in this to put out the research and what the research shows without being
Hmm.
influenced by it. So constantly I see this around me where people, and I know what's on people's minds. And this, I posted some on social media about your entire life is under the guise of being observed by the all-seeing eye, whatever you think that means, but you're being watched in every move you make. Like the police saying, every move you make, I'm watching you. So it's like everything you're posting on your social media, it's being recorded and being used to market to you. Everything you're saying on the phone, there is no privacy. These people, I laugh when I see proton mail or these secret emails that come over like, oh, you can't get my information.
Hmm.
No, that's being watched and observed too. So you might as well just go with a reputable one. But nonetheless, this is where our reality is, where everything's being observed and watched, and everything now is marketing to you online, and that's the world that we live in. And it's like the world knows exactly. Like all you got to do is say, hey, let me look at your playlist on YouTube. Let me look at the last 2 weeks of your YouTube view playlist. Let me look at your history of your YouTube, and I can tell you exactly what's going on in your life. It's that simple right now. Just YouTube
Yeah.
just YouTube or
Yeah.
your Spotify or, whatever. It's going to be telling a lot about who you are as a human being. So I think that human beings now are very much distracted more than any time ever in the history of the world, just because of all these, all these things to keep us busy, to keep us distracted. And people, they like that's a fix for them. They like distractions.
Hmm.
We do. We all like distractions, I think.
Yeah. Now, if like some people have been asking me lately because I've been throwing out this word a lot, this distractions word, and they're like, "Well, what are we getting distracted from?" And I'm like, are we really asking that question?
Mm.
Like, that's like, that's a shitty question. Like, if you have to ask another man about what you're being distracted from, it's like, bruh. I know this is like a clear pill moment for some people, but it's like, it just goes to show you, like, you have literally been programmed by whatever it was to set the terms and conditions of what should be your priority.
Right.
So the answer's simple, everyone. It's like your purpose. That's it. You're being distracted from your purpose, whatever
Yeah.
that means to you. Hopefully, it has more meaning than just being a consumer or just being the judge and juror of all this stuff, or the commenter or the reviewer. Like, be more than that, because I know you are. Like, anyone who tells you otherwise is a fucking parasite. Like, within all of you, there's this creator, there's this divine spark, there's this thing that wants to shine, and we've put the dimmer switch on it. And every time that we give in to the drama and the nonsense in the outside, it's you forcefully keeping that dimmer switch on. Like, you could attenuate it accordingly with what you choose to do. And you're 100% right. You can pretty much determine where somebody's at solely by their search history or by, and I've been in check with myself a lot with that lately. Of course, we all have to be, even the people that have this level of awareness. So I myself decide that every time I catch myself doing this, I go and create something. It could be a beat, some music. It could be stuff that I'm doing with this course that I have. Like, I'm just always defaulting to creation. And it doesn't need to be the things that I like to do or Logan likes to do. It could be go make a salad, go just
Yeah.
do something, like have a hobby, get a hobby, A lot of people don't have hobbies anymore because they're just stuck on these screens.
Yeah.
And man, I
So
mean, we're just
true.
getting started, right? Like we're just getting started with this.
So true. I'm medically, like physically, I'm 51, 51 and a half. My body's not the spring chicken it once was. That's the reality of it. And I've noticed over the past couple of years that I've had to pay more attention. I have to break free. I have to people ask me, how do you pump out so much content? I just had somebody email me, you have a team that there's people working? No, it's just me. How am I pumping out so much content? Because I've spent so many damn hours in front of the computer. I've been sitting on my ass since 2017, like so many hours in front of the computer, ungodly amounts of hours. And as a result, my circulation is slowing down. The electromagnetic frequencies from the screen causes pulmonary artery disease. It's kind of literally your body starts to break down, and it's the resonance of the body starts to move out of a natural state. So it's like and people have problems with their necks, which is what I have. So I'm looking down. All these things with the electronics, and that essentially is the what does Antichrist mean? Technology. That's it. Christ means body, and anti is the absence of that, and that's what we're moving towards in the complete basic fundamental. People they're busy with their influences, which is the screen, and if you're like me, and you're having challenges with your health, like when I go to the beach 2 blocks away and I ground for a couple of days, I notice a big difference. I just went on a trip to the US, and that I love going on trips because I don't get in front of the computer like I normally do, and I notice a difference. I notice a big difference for me anyway. So it's not noticeable maybe when you're young, but for me, it's noticeable. And so now I can see what does Antichrist mean? Antibody. That's it. That's it. And you could tack on all your little silly adjectives to describe the boogeyman and all this, Baba Yaga and all this stuff. But the Antichrist simply means technology. That's about as simple as I can put it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, bro, that's heavy. That's a heavy subject. And I think if anyone just goes into like where the origin of this word Christos, comes from, and you start getting into that, which I'm sure enough of your viewers are aware, and enough of the people that tune into my work are aware, but I love the way you summarized it. It's like anti-body. Like, that's beautiful. I think say no more.
Yeah. And you had mentioned acid. That's what electromagnetic frequencies will do. That is what the devil is acid. Matter of fact, the word diabolos, which is where devil came from. If you do your etymology, diabolos, Greek, that's where devil came from, adversary, diabolos. Well, the numerology of diabolos in the Greek numerology is 9. And 9 is endings and completions. And 9 is also tied to the word acid. Acid is the number 9. So you have diabolos, the devil, which is acid. And then now you can see how the devil, the adversary, just means corruption. And that's the job of the diabolos, to finalize the end, to make room for the beginning. You take a white circle and you start to move it through the cycles of time. You add black dots to it. And as it moves forward, the black dots represent programming, taking on ideas, taking on habits, essentially decay of life. And then eventually the circle becomes completely black because acid completely took over. And now the alkalinity of that circle, or at least the neutrality of it, moves into acidic state, and it's full of darkness. And I think that's where the planet seemingly is moving towards. And we need to that needs to be corrected. And I think we need to it's one, like one day at a time, one person at a time. And that's why I love what you do, because you had just said, just go get a hobby, do something outside of the influences that you're being marketed by, because it's all marketing. As you know, we've had this conversation about marketing is that's life markets. Life is a cult. We've talked
Yeah,
about the
like,
cult
like,
thing. Yeah, life's a cult.
yeah. Yeah, and let me just be very clear on this. Like with the hobby, it could be something that utilizes the device. There's nothing wrong with that. Like it's just, is the device a tool or is it a weapon? That's all. Like I'm just maybe tapping into these devices as much as a tool as I possibly can. Um, and I hope that that influences other people to consider that, not to copy me or you, because I don't think there's anything wrong with the device in and of itself. It's just the relationship that we have with it. So to be very clear on that, because I know I didn't really finish my full thought and brought up some examples of how I would use my time, and I'm literally able to use the device to serve my purpose as I am right now doing this podcast with you. I owe it all to these devices. We've had a couple
Yeah.
conversations like that too. Like I owe it all to this microphone. I owe it all to the Ethernet, the fucking charging cable that connects to the like it's all part of the syncretism, right?
Yep.
So I'm not shitting on these devices. It's just I may be putting the mirror in front of you, and that's going to be uncomfortable, as it's been uncomfortable for me to do to myself. I like using this term waterboarding. People hate that,
Yeah.
but like that's what truth really is. It's like self waterboarding. It's not comfortable, but you're not going to die. You're being pushed through it, and you see on the other side you're less, well, I would just say less fearful. You have more strength and more courage, and you're willing to take more risks. You don't look at everything so transactionally as much. And that right there, I think, could propel man forward in a place where like they can mine more consciousness from the now moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm as you were talking, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and you like the microphone. I'm grateful for, like, I love my electronics. I mean, it's my life. The cook loves his flour and sugar and water and yeast. I love my Mac and my Rode and the microphone, and I love the computer monitor, and I love Adobe Photoshop. I love all these tools. If I didn't have them, I would move into something else artistic, that we would use non-electronic stuff. But it's like that's what I gravitate towards, this electronic stuff, and yet I know if I stand in front of it for too long, I'm not in moderation. So it is that moderation aspect as well to consider, um, as we move into
Yeah,
this
but you know what's
technological.
fascinating? Like people like me and you, like moderation, I don't really think exists for us. And that's like the cross we bear. I was just talking about this earlier. Like people ask a lot of questions to me, and lately I've been having to add in the context of like, but I don't think you want this. Like, you, a lot of people fantasize having the type of personality or the type of skills that somebody like you or I might have naturally. And like, I think it's a blessing and a curse situation
It
very
totally
much.
is.
It comes back to talent, right? Like a lot of people, the talent is their curse.
Yeah.
It's about manning up in the process and being like, where is my balance? Like I exercised that last week where I decided to not do a live stream so that I could spend time with real human beings in real life. And I'm glad that I did that. But like initially you have this thing that happens as a leader or as somebody who's tapped into this audience where like you feel like you might disappoint people or you might be letting them down, um, and that's not healthy for me to ever feel. So I'm just being vulnerable, and I had those feelings, but then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh shit, like that's exactly the revealing of there was no balance there for
Yeah.
me to even feel that way. So it's about checking in, like pretty much the theme so far of this conversation. It's like the checking in, and in this 2024 year, and as we expand more and we get more deeper into the Aquarian age, there's just gonna be like you're gonna be bombarded with shit. Like it's gonna feel like you're blasting through space and like having to dodge ash, fucking debris.
Yeah.
I think that's very much what I've been feeling. But I'm like, it's all about balance. It's all about balance. Having a lot of talent and a lot of passion. I think we need to remind people the word passion literally means pain.
Well, so well said, dude. Passion equals pain. I mean, yeah, think about the people that have mastered, if you want to use the word mastery, I'm a huge fan of Joe Satriani. I can't imagine the amount of time he spent on the guitar.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of like Mozart and Beethoven, how much time they spent in front of the piano, slaving over that sucker. And yeah, there's no electromagnetic frequencies popping off that piano. But there's something else. There's something else. And so as we move into this new age, if we've already moved into it already, it requires a completely different set of circumstances for us to live through, because the age of Aquarius astrologically is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is an electrical planet, and electricity is seemingly, maybe we're going to get free electricity. Maybe we're going to get free power moving into the age of Aquarius, because the age of Aquarius is in the tarot would be the justice card. And I mean, is that what is going to happen? Are we going to get Are we going to get free energy? That would be the question. I think we're moving into a perfected society, based upon just the parameters of what we're doing as a species right now, how easy it is to figure things out now. Like YouTube alone. Just YouTube alone, you could find you can find anything. You can learn how to plant a garden. You can learn how to plant grass.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can't learn on just YouTube alone. Nothing.
Yeah. No excuses anymore, right?
No excuses to learn whatever it is that you want to do. So you got to figure out what the hell you're here to do, and then master it. Go become the master of it. But you got to have
And
passion.
you also don't even have to have like an identity anymore. And like I know I'm kind of like in that situation, but I've decided to be fucking real with y'all. Like the
Right.
same Logan that Logan got when I met him in person is the same fucker that's talking to you right now. It's the same guy I talk to my mom this way. Like, but what I'm saying is like all the people that are like, oh, I'm oppressed because I'm gay. I'm oppressed because I'm black. I'm oppressed because I'm ugly. You don't have to be oppressed. You're just fucking make an online thing, put something else, put an avatar up, and then just do whatever you got to do. You can't hide behind that excuse either anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
your color, your gender, your race, your weird left foot. It's like it doesn't matter. Your resume at your last job, it doesn't matter.
That's
Your
it.
all of your connections that you have in life, it doesn't matter. Like this allows you an opportunity of a fucking millennium. And if you squander
Absolutely.
this one, then like I don't know what to say.
Yeah. If you do, uh, this is the age of I know thyself. The very first thing, if you're here listening right now, this is just a suggestion, not a be all end all for every single one of you. A suggestion to consider that if you know exactly what your purpose is, like I'm talking about, like, how would I know my purpose is? You get out of bed and you can't wait to start your day. That's when you know your purpose. Once you have that, then there's no stopping you, because now you don't work anymore. You don't wake up and grind like you normally would grind and say, "Oh, I'm a slave to this." You actually wake up and you enjoy life. And for me, I'm at that place, and I know you're at that place, and it's a very beautiful way to live life. It's a very, very rewarding way to live life, knowing what you're here to do, and then being able to do it. Knowing and being able to do it are two different things as well, because a lot of people, they feel like, I know what I want to do, but I just can't do it because I'm financially this but you got to take the first step, man, and that takes courage. And you're trying to get it all tomorrow, where you can,
Yeah.
like, if you go all the way back to your channel, Jordan, you go all the way back to your very first video.
Mhm.
If you compare it to your latest videos now, you could probably say the first video you put out kind of sucked, right? The
Yeah,
quality
dude,
and
dog
just like,
shit.
yeah, dog
Yeah,
shit.
dog
Now
shit.
it's, and the current videos you're putting
Toilet
out now.
paper. Not even the shit, just the toilet paper.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then these videos that you're pumping out now, you could in a year, 2 years from now, that you're going to say those were not that good. They're mediocre, right? Because you're
Sure.
mastering the craft. So, ladies and gentlemen, you got to find out what you're here to do, and then just take the first step, knowing, and then don't listen to people telling you, because they're going to tell you, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh, and this is where, people, then they start
Yeah.
making up this stupid nonsense like, oh, Jordan doesn't show himself on camera. And then they assume all this nonsense. Like, dude, why do I have to appease you? I don't have to show my face. So you can wake up and say, oh, there's Jordan. Okay. And then now what? Everybody will forget about, and they'll be like, the hype.
Bro.
Hype is, we don't know what Jordan looks like. Oh my God, what does it look like? What does the new phone look like? I gotta find out. That's the nonsense. And so it doesn't matter.
You know how many people, though, who are very successful? I'm not trying to manage who is more or less than the other, but like, you know how many people that are very successful that contact me and say, if I could do it all over again, I wish I would have done it the way you're doing it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you made the smartest decision of your life, which is to do what you do, but not be the face of it. And if I can take it all back, I would do that. And I remember being the face. See, a lot of people don't know this. I was the face of a lot of other things that I was doing in life, a lot of other endeavors. I got that, I got that prana off my chest already. Like I've received all that prana already.
Hmm.
So I don't need that anymore. Like, and I'm not trying to say that it's the best way. I'm not trying to say that anyone who does something that I'm not doing is doing it the wrong way. I just knew how I needed to do it and what resonated most and what allowed me to do what I believe is my purpose. And my identity is not necessary in that at all.
Yep.
So it's funny that it's only the aggressive people that are like typically haters
Yep.
that have something to say like that. And then it's just amazing how many ultra successful people I've talked to who reach out to me typically because of mental health stuff. Because even though you are successful, it doesn't mean you're happy. I've met many people that have a fuck ton of money, but they're depressed and they're suicidal. So naturally, they're attracted to me for that because I've been able to navigate this whole thing so calmly. So, it's just amazing how many times I've connected with people and they've said this. And I don't feel necessarily flattered by it, but it's just a reminder that like, oh, we can do exactly what it is that we want to do. And anyone who tries pushing lack onto us is an opportunity for you to avoid them. And that is coming full circle to what you were just sharing a moment ago about as you start to fulfill your purpose, agents are going to walk into the picture. Like, and if you want to be the main character in this movie and you want to be the producer and the director, however deep you want to go, then you need to micromanage all of these things, all of this lack that's going to, flood into your home.
Uh-huh.
And it's up to you. How do you want to navigate that? And I think that a lot of the time, I can't like blame any one particular thing and why we're unable to realize this, but I think maybe if we spent less time trying to figure out what is the best way to do something or what would be the right way to do something, and we just solely did the thing that made us feel alive, then everything else would fall into place afterwards. Like when I was making my first videos, for instance, and I know it's probably the same for you, I wasn't concerned with the fact that I didn't have a good microphone yet. I wasn't concerned with the fact that I didn't have the best setup. None of that mattered. I was just passionate about the shit that I was analyzing. And I thought, well, luckily enough, I had some people in my life that told me I should share it. But eventually I just thought, like, why not? Fuck it. Right? I think a lot of like the beautiful things in life happen when you just say fuck it and do it instead of analyzing it so much. So perhaps it's that like paralysis that people enter and that's preventing them. What's your journey been like with all of this though? Like I know that you had experiences in the past. You were able to borrow and like leverage on those experiences from the past and place it into this current thing that you're doing. But all of this esoterica and stuff that has showed up in your life is quite recent, right?
Yeah. I uh I'm like you, man. If I go back and I look at my first video, it's crap. And this is why I mentioned it to you, like your video, your first video to now. And I just started doing it, and I've sacrificed so much of my life to get to this particular point of my of this decode your reality mission in life, being a card reader, being a reader of other people's code, um, and studying my code to this day, studying it, studying it, studying it. Why do I continually study my code? Because I want to get. I have this toolbox that I carry around with me. You can't see it, but it's my toolbox, and my toolbox is all of the ideas of what I know about myself are inside that toolbox. And I can, and when I just keep adding to them to understand what my strengths and weaknesses are, what I'm defaulted by, what I probably shouldn't do. Like, that's why, astrology is a big one where, if your moon is in a certain position, you may be more susceptible to negativity and you wouldn't want to be around negative people. Well, that's a tool to know rather than trying to force it, rather than going in front of negative people. You would study more about how do I either be able to own that space or just don't walk into it, and that's studying your code. And that's what I've been able to do for me. And this is what I try to help people with, is the more you're able to look at your life from the layers of your toolbox, the better you'll be able to be a carpenter. That's why Jesus was a carpenter, because he was a builder. He's a mason, in a sense. That's kind of the joke. But the carpenter has all these. So what makes a good carpenter? Like, if you're a carpenter and you show up at a job, or you're a handyman and you're coming to fix something, you need all the tools, because it may be something that is required of you to pull out some tool that it's not a saw, hammer, or chisel. It's not the basic fundamentals. And so you need the technical stuff. This is why, like, what you do, this technical analysis, and you really kind of have this niche of, you brought in the moon cycles, and like, you were really the first one to pave the road for that. Well, that's a tool in your toolbox that you have the sharpest tool there, because you were the founder and origination kind of in a big way on that. Right. And that's the value of looking at people, and even myself, is being able to look at all my tools, lay them out on the table, and then start to use them. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with these tools? And, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you must find out what your layers to your toolbox looks like. It's so essential in this day and age to do that. But of course, I love what Black Sabbath, there's a song called Heaven and Hell, and Ronnie James Dio, at one of their live events, he says, remember, the world is full of kings and queens who will blind your eyes and steal your dreams. And what is that? What did that mean? It means that the damn shit you're being marketed by is stealing your dreams, because it's programming you what they want you to utilize, the certain tools that you have. The world is a vampire, as Smashing Pumpkins said, and the world is vampiring you by way of influencing you by marketing of how to shift the world through collective consciousness, versus when you take your power back by studying yourself, shut off the static, know exactly how you're programmed, then go back into the world. It's kind of like, you get into this, you're in this relationship, you get a divorce, you've been married for 10 years, and these people, though, you're dating for a couple of years, and you automatically jump right into the fire again. You didn't heal. You jump right back into the world again, and now you're looking for the next relationship. Well, you haven't fixed those wounds. You haven't licked your wounds. I mean, you're still got a couple of scrapes here and there, and they haven't healed completely. So you're walking back into the world with open wounds, and you're susceptible to infections. And those infections are simply just mere marketing tools that the world is going to lay upon you. So when you become a hermit, I think becoming a hermit has a lot of value, because when you become a hermit, you break away from the outside world to focus solely on you.
Yeah, no, I think that's something I was just recently talking about, how you learn a lot about yourself in silence and away from the influence of the chatter of your friends and family. Even though I am a people person, and I do think community is the most important thing that exists, and I think relationships are the most valuable asset that exists. But with that being said, like, the most valuable thing is being able to know where you're at with it all, without allowing everyone else's take to, become that static, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. That triggered something when you said relationships. I've been reminded. I think the universe always is working for you. I just think that people don't see the signs. They avoid the signs and signals to make the move. The universe gently pushes you towards something, or gives you something, or presents something into your life. But most people are so engrossed in the outside exterior that they don't pay any attention to the signal. So I'm constantly being reminded. Like I have friends that are in these nasty nightmare relationships. I'm getting like this buzzing in my ear. And what does it do? It reminds me to be grateful that I'm not in one of those. And I'm like, okay, well, is the universe telling me it's not time yet? Is my sign to get into a relationship where someone starts telling me how great their relationship is and how magical their relationship is? Am I going to have to wait for the universe to come and tell me that for me to engage in saying, well, maybe I want that now? Is that a signal from the universe or from God or whatever you want to call it? Are the signals coming into your life? Are they telling you a story? I say, yes, they are. But people don't listen. People don't listen to the stories coming into their lives because we're stubborn. We want to do it our way. We refute that, and maybe that might be where the free, if there is such a thing as free will, and I really question that at this point. But if there is, that may just be a layer to consider. Is that the
Mhm.
signs? The signs that are coming in? Are you paying attention to them? What is your take on the signs coming in, Jordan?
Yeah, I think we just talked about it a little bit ago, actually, like with what this reality hands you, whether that be from a friend, from family, from the school that you were pushed into, from the religion that you were forced into, from maybe even choices that you've made counter to the prior experience. Like in religion, for instance, it's very common for people to go from their horrible, traumatic experiences in religion to just finding another cult, right? Or they're believing that this version of the truth is more, in alignment with the ultimate truth, whatever, right? So, like, I think, yeah, it's teasing you. I think all these things, all this stimuli is teasing you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like recently, this thing going on between Drake and Kendrick Lamar was teasing me. And I was like, well, where am I at in all of this? And I had to figure out, how do I take something away from this whole cultural moment? Because everything is a cultural moment at the end of the
Yeah,
day. Like, that's what we have to admit.
yeah,
And I've started to check in a lot in that. So that, because, and lastly, the one thing I could say is I now have a different role in it all. Like, as a person who has this online presence and a really large community at this point, which I'm so fucking grateful for. Like, I've become more aware that the value of my words is somehow on the up and up, and it's way more than I went when I made my first video. Because I remember it vividly when I made my first video, people thought I was fucking crazy. They're like, "There's no way this is real." And then
ah,
things unfolded and things happened, and then more people started believing in it. So it's like, when you're a pioneer, in a sense, which I don't really think I created anything. I'm sure there's people out there that were doing moon cycle stuff way before me. I'm sure there's people out there, I've always given my flowers to those who've influenced me in even the gematria side of things, which I've openly, publicly, millions of times at this point said Zach was one of the people that I was sent content of from a friend that I had to get into these four base ciphers. You were the one that I saw the Chaldean, or the utility of Chaldean from. So, like, I believe we're just borrowing all that shit, and like
yeah,
then somehow it's being explored through our own unique take and our own unique perspective, and that's what seems like it's the first, or special. But I'm sure it's even the case for you and all these elements that you've brought into your recipe, of a decode. And I'm sure if we go back to the beginning of where you were at to today, it's transformed so much that if somebody landed on your work today, they'd be like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like, I've never seen this before. And really, like, it was just the trickling effect of all the things that came from what you were influenced by leading up to this moment, right? It's no different than the music we create or the movies that we create or whatever. All art is just borrowing something of
yeah.
the past.
Agreed. Yeah,
So I
agreed.
guess getting back to the ultimate, like, thing that I'm trying to say here is that, like, I mean, wow, so many like grandiose topics and ideas, and unsure even of how to talk about it. It's like embrace whatever feels like it's naturally and most in alignment with where you're at right now, and have a willingness to be malleable when needed, but not because it's being enforced onto you.
Hmm.
I think those are very me trying to be very
That's a big
clear with
one.
my
Yeah. No
words.
force. Yeah. No force. I think that,
Because
go ahead, finish.
sorry, I was just gonna say, because like in this world we have a lot of things that seemingly are trying to force us to make decisions. Like
Uh-huh.
C19 was a great example, right? Of where you should not be malleable. You should check in with like the facts here and not give in to some fucking crazy shit like what they were trying to do. It's like know when to change and when best to admit that maybe what your methods aren't the greatest, and make room for growth, make room for expansion.
Yep. Well, let's take that thing that happened on the world stage. We've talked about this before, but I'll gently remind all of you that are listening. Did you make lemonade out of that situation? Like again, the universe is working for you. It's working not to you, it's working for you. So when something big like that comes on the world stage, what do we normally, how we program to look at it? Oh my God, what an inconvenience. What do you mean I got to stay home? What do you mean I got to wear this? What do you mean I got to do this? I can't fly because of this. So it's all this that is you think it's happening to you. But what if you flip that and you realize it's happening for you, and it's happening for you to shape your future, to make you a better person, to make you a more expansive person, to make you a more richer person in the aspects of maybe health and wellness. Maybe it's supposed to wake you up to your, so you're more rich in your health, to get your health in check. Maybe it pushed you to stay indoors so you'll perfect your craft, which you needed to be forced to stay indoors in order to perfect your craft. Like if you want to learn
Hmm.
how to become a DJ, like this is something I wanted to do. I thought about it. I want to DJ. And I started, I honestly, Jordan, and I know you know this program, Ableton, right? A
Hmm.
long time ago, I don't even know how, it was a long time ago, when Ableton kind of first came out, I'm like, oh my God, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to use this thing. And I tried to self teach myself, and it just didn't pan out. And then I wanted to get into the DJ stuff. And I know that if I would have put the energy in, I've put into decode your reality and decoding, I would be a DJ traveling the world. I know that I would, because the hours that I put into that's why people say, how do you pump out all these videos and how they say, because I have a lot of freaking practice at it. How did I get a lot of practice in that? Spent a lot of time indoors. So the same situation is, what did you do when that thing that came out on the world stage pushed you indoors? Did you complain and bitch? Or did you
Hmm.
make lemonade out of it? The universe
Yeah.
is working for you, not to you. When you start to look at this reality that way, I feel like it's a game changer. I really do.
Yeah, so true in so many ways. Like I think that 2 years that we had on lockdown was a gift. I know a
Gift.
lot of people I know a lot of people will hate me for saying that, but it was a gift.
Yep. It was totally a gift. And if it wasn't a gift for you, if you don't agree with that, I would say that maybe you're not looking in the right direction. You weren't looking in the right direction for you. And I mean, right by growth, for your growth. You weren't looking in
Mm,
the direction of growth. You were looking in the
yeah.
direction of lack.
Or
Because
you weren't prepared. Like I think a lot of the time people just want to avoid the fact that there must be some preventative maintenance in life, like just like you would with a car.
uh-huh.
Like if it's advised to get an oil change at 3,000 miles and you drive at 30,000 miles without an oil change and then the shit breaks down, it's like, don't blame the fucking New World Order.
Yeah, that's a great.
Like, that's the analogy here. Like,
It must be the gender.
sorry, sorry you drove your car for 30 fucking thousand miles with no oil change and now you're mad because of Bill Gates or whatever,
Uh,
because of Anthony Fauci, you know?
yeah, no, totally. I
I hope
totally.
people understand what I mean by that. Like sincerely, like this was such a great opportunity to learn who is who. And
Yep.
that's like I'll pivot here for a second because that's one of the gifts that I learned that was being presented to me during C19 was like I saw the real side of everyone. I saw
Ooh,
everyone for who
yeah.
they were.
Uh-huh.
Like there was no costume anymore. Like you could put on that
Uh-huh.
mask all fucking day, but I saw who you really were. And that was awesome, in my opinion, because although that's a talent that I have, is being able to tap into people and get people to be vulnerable with me, because mostly I'm the one that's the most vulnerable. But beyond that, like, it showed me everyone's hand. It showed me where everyone's soul was at.
Right.
I think that's the best gift we could ever get. I got to see everyone in their most authentic light.
Ooh, that's a
Like,
big one. That's a big one. That's so true. I totally concur. I think that I think that a lot of people, well, at least you saw what pressure looks like. We saw what pressure looks like in people's lives, right? Pressure. We get you. I saw you saw what it looks like to be squeezed. What is it?
yeah.
How do you behave when you get squeezed as a human being? I'm not saying you, but I'm saying to the audience,
Hmm.
what happens when you get squeezed in life? When inconveniences come into your life and you get squeezed and and this is what we do. We complain about it. We complain
Yeah.
about it like, oh, I'm inconvenienced. I have to wear this and I have to do that. What an inconvenience. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Your life's so inconvenienced. But what if we were to flip that and turn around? What's the convenience out of it? And again, like, hey, I built my whole
Yeah.
a majority of my decoders, even though I started in 2018. I mean, I was flying in when the pandemic came in. I was flying. I was crushing it.
Mm.
And I got to just make lemonade out of that whole thing. And it worked for me, not against me.
Hmm.
And I agree with you. I think it was a gift. Yep.
It allowed me to see so many things that were like concealed. Um, it really exposed a lot. And it also gave people a lot of free time to study stuff. That's why I think it feels for so many people like there was this big enlightenment moment during C19. But
Yep.
like, I don't think that's the case. I think you guys just had a fucking bunch of free time on your hands. Like, that's
Yeah. You got to
you had
read
more
and
time to
study.
study shit. You had
Yep.
more time to read stuff. And like also that means more time for regular people to make content. Like we're all content creators, right? When you take a picture on your vacation in Florida and then post that somewhere, you've just shared content. It's no different. Now the value of the content is it's what's questionable, but at the end of the day, it's still content. Like we're all content creators in this new world.
Hmm.
What type of content are you creating though?
That's right.
That's that's a question you have to ask yourself. So yeah, I mean, we got to see everyone for who they were. Even though you were wearing a mask on your face, you weren't your soul was exposed. And I mean, I was just talking about I have a small group of people in this expansion group coaching that I have, which is a service that I don't even publicly offer anymore. But in this small little group, I was just talking about this yesterday, how I am on my practice of checking in with all the times that I wasn't the best version of myself.
Mm.
Like, it's hard to do that though, right? Because we like staying safe and comfortable, and that means avoiding the mirror. And I was talking about how, like, during C19, for the first like 6 months to a year, I was fucking awful. I was so judgmental. I was name calling a lot. Like, I was an asshole, you know? And
Mm.
I have to like I don't like that version of myself. I had to learn that was the real me then, and I wanted to be a better man. So I had to stop that shit. But I did that for like 6 months. I remember every time somebody tried telling me to wear a mask or to put hand sanitizer, I would just tell people to go fuck themselves, call them a sheep, say whatever. Like, but I don't like that version of me. I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to behave that way.
Yeah,
I could have been, I should be more compassionate where people are at in their
I
journey.
agree.
So what if they're an NPC? So what if they don't have, access to some of this awareness that, but like it doesn't make me a better person than them.
Yeah,
I think we're all just trying to survive here, man. Like, like
absolutely.
I've woken up to that. I've woken up to that. And when you say this thing about convenience, it's like that convenience thing is very much a human dilemma. Because if I turned every human right now into a cow, we would see how inconvenient your life would be
Right.
when you're locked in like a fucking cage somewhere eating corn and turned into food for humans. Like you'd see how quickly you feel inconvenienced by your whole existence is
Yep.
inconvenience.
Yep.
So you're a human, and as a human, you get a lot of choice, even the choice of the diet you eat. That's
Yep.
why it's so funny when people are like, I'm a carnivore, I'm a vegan. It's like, no, you're a food choicist.
Yeah.
You have choices. 150 years ago, you didn't.
Yeah.
200, 300, 400 years ago, you definitely didn't.
Yeah.
Survival was really of the essence of that time.
Yeah.
So, just to wrap up the point for me to be a real one, like I am always working on realizing timelines when I wasn't the best version of myself or the version of myself that I would look up to the most. And I've needed to correct over time. And that's why when I started this channel and I aligned with you and all this stuff, I like made it my mission. If I'm gonna share truth and I'm gonna be a part of this in whatever capacity, I am not gonna do it in conflict. I'm not gonna do it by talking shit about other people so that I could feel better about myself. Like I'm gonna do it honorably as I can.
Yeah, well said. That's how I roll, and I don't. That's why, you're one of the few that I associate with because we're on that same page. This whole world is just a big marketing machine, and everybody's just living out their own truth. You know how it is and how I roll. That's why I'm the same way. I don't resonate with people that just want to debate and they want to try to say you're wrong and I got to do whatever it takes to smash your truth and or you're social liar and because at the end of the day, guess what? You're going to die just like the other person you're trying to smash. You're both going to die one day, and there's a 1+1 fact here equals 2 fact. We don't know what happens after this. There is no solidification on what happens. There is nothing that we can prove on what happens after this. All I know is that we're going to die, and all of your bullshit is going to go with you. And that's it. So it's just like, the people that are out there debating and causing conflict, and they could be taking all that energy and using it something constructive that will make the world and move it into it. Because ultimately, if you ask the person, what is your main objective? I want to make the world a better place. Okay, well, how is debating making the world a better place? It's not. How is trying to prove somebody wrong making the world a better place? You could take all that energy and move it into something constructive that would essentially make the world a better place, and we'd have a forward progression that would look a hell of a lot better. But this is the thinking. See, those people, they're not thinking, man. And that's why I like hanging out with you, because you do think. You conscious. There's a way. There's thinking, and then there's conscious thinking. Most people are not consciously thinking. They're just thinking based upon their external, being programmed by it. And that's the difference between the two. So, Jordan,
I think it's tough. Like, I think, just quickly, like, summarize this whole thing is like, just look in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
That's all. Just look in the mirror. Like, every time you want to point a finger and talk shit about it, just look in the mirror. Like, always bring it back to self, because ultimately you are the universe. Your mind is all is mental. And there's something that you're working through, clearly, if you're putting an energy into, projecting onto others. But anyways, what were you gonna
even the people out there that are making their whole entire existence is making videos trying to bring people down. Like, they're just trying to pull up dirt on them, and they're making videos about them. It's just like,
oh, bro, I love those channels. There's like full-blown channels dedicated to like exposing the truth. I'm like, this is great, dude.
It's great.
This is great.
You know what though?
Next, we're gonna have like a Grammys dedicated to us. They're gonna make like an award fucking ceremony.
That'd be awesome. I get it, because people say people have asked me like, oh, but isn't everybody just doing their job? Yeah. The good thing is that I look at myself and I'm so glad I didn't get that job, because God, it's like I'm so glad I don't have that life, because it's so taxing. There's really no. It's such a slave aspect to it. So I love this whole topic of people doing what they're supposed to be doing. I have a decode coming out on Joel Osteen. I'm finally going to break down Joel Osteen. And you know what?
He's like a pastor or something, right?
He's a big pastor in Texas, and he's got one of the largest churches.
Oh yeah, the mega church, dude.
Mega church, yeah.
And
I posted on social media, and the comments of people, like, I get these, oh, he eating children, and like, where is this? Oh, it's this and it's that. And I'm thinking, and this is where I know the mentality of people. Like, are you really stuck in that mire still? Like, is that what gets you off on your life? And like, But the guy, astrologically, the guy's got pastor written all over him.
Mhm.
And and we got snake oil, and it led me to some pretty big revelations in decoding. Um,
That's awesome.
it is awesome. It's really awesome. But I wouldn't want that life. That guy is under scrutiny. Then I had posted something. I found this quote, and it says, "The bigger something is on the world stage, the more complex your life will become when you attach yourself to it."
Mm.
And so you think about Joel Osteen and how big his church is. It's a mega church,
Yeah, bro. He's
right?
like a prana vacuum.
Bro.
He's like the greatest Dyson vacuum of all time. He's like NASA engineered prana sucker. But that's his purpose. That's why I
That's
love
his
shit like this.
purpose,
Like,
man. It's so
yeah, like when I
cool.
study cults, I'm like, I very much see all of this stuff. And I'm like, I can almost guarantee if I looked into the astrology behind this individual that's running this show, it would pretty much expose exactly the same stuff that, you're talking about right now.
For sure. I
They
mean,
were designed for it. They were designed for it.
designed for it. Exactly. So somebody had said snake oil, right? And so of course the word snake is 16, just like the word cult. Numerology, Chaldean, snake, and cult are 16. They're both the same. And so it made me realize like the snake oil salesman. So I started to look at the guy who was the creator of that in a way. He sold this snake oil, and his name was Stuart. So I think it was Stuart something. But you know what the research ends up coming to? Our entire world is a snake selling snake oil. The life is a snake oil salesman selling you things that are designed to take you down eventually because you're going to face death. So like, are you going to die with saying, "Oh yeah, I know, but Billy Carson was wrong," and you die with that? Okay, cool. So,
Bro, so good.
I know, I know. Not pointing. I'm not. Anyway, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
laugh at life.
Oh my God. Remember at the end of C19, like there's this, I forgot the name. And by the way, I'm not like, for the people that believe in this, I'm not trying to like piss on your parade, but remember when they were talking about like the reason everyone got C19 was because there was like snake venom in the water supply? Bro, do you remember this? And it's making me think of the snake oil thing. And I'm like, this is fucking perfect. I'm like, the New World Order is so savvy.
It
Like,
is,
you think
dude.
you never will get Bobby Fischer in checkmate. Like, this is Bobby Fischer in his prime, is the New World Order.
Uh-huh.
And you think that you made some progress here, and then they flex on you. Like, they allow some random to come out of the woodwork who allegedly has this like full-blown, exposure on how you lost your taste for 2 weeks or whatever. It's just, my God, man. I don't even know. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole because I know it was part of almost the QAnon movement too.
Uh-huh.
Like it leaked into that. So I already knew from the beginning of it. I was like rubbing my hands together,
Mm.
like just smirking, being like, this is going to be
Ooh,
entertaining. Yeah, this is going to be real entertaining, man. And of course, like, if a big grip of people start pushing that this is the actual reason why. And I'm like, okay, you don't have any desire for truth. You just take on whatever the alternative thing is instantaneously with no discernment. So my position is not that it's fake or real. It's like allow some more discernment. Just practice thinking for yourself.
wow.
Just for a moment. That's all. Like just because if you avoid the ball earth people and you jump straight to the flat earth team, you didn't make any expansion. You just polarized. You just went to the other pole.
Oh, yep. Yep.
And that's not what this was for. Like truth and expansion is not about just shifting to the other pole. That that's part of the chess game here, and you don't want to see it as such. And that's why it feels very much like a cycle that's impossible to exit.
Mhm.
So I think like there could be a full blown conversation talking about that another time. And I know you had your experiences being brought up in religion, and I bet you could talk about a lot of that stuff as well firsthand. Yeah, I myself did not grow up with religion, so
Yep.
I didn't have that indoctrination. But anyways, pretty
Yeah.
fascinating stuff. The snake oil thing, snake oil salesman, snake venom in the water, classic.
And that's yeah, yep. It's comical because snake oil is 27 in numerology, just like the word religion.
Yeah.
They're all
Are they like
27.
milking? Are they like milking snakes somewhere in a factory? Like, what's going on here? What was what was the explanation behind this?
I don't remember.
Are
I'll have
they
to look it
throwing?
up.
They're throwing snakes into people into the municipal water.
Yeah,
You
I don't know
come on.
I don't remember the whole context of it, but
There's like fucking documentaries released on this shit, and I'm like, I can't believe it. I really cannot. I cannot believe this.
oh, dude, it's so comical.
We're so quick. We're so quick, like as a species. And now I know why the New World Order does what they do. Like I just laugh at it all now. I'm like, I know why they're so successful at pulling off scam after scam after scam. Because the gullible nature of man, it's like we like being like we like hoaxes. We like getting bamboozled. There's something in the spirit of man where he like likes being caught up in that. I don't know what it is, but for me, my whole life, I've just been fascinated with observing man fall for the hoax.
Yeah,
I'm just getting better at judging less about it now. Like I just I'm a lot more playful, I suppose. But like especially the years that I put into studying cults, which by the way launched a lot of my uh kind of what should I say, interest in esoterica, believe it or not, which I'm super stoked about. You know, and now that I have all this experience of studying that, it's helped me quite a bit with the psychology and like being able to help people with the mental health side of things and like with the worship culture and the daddy culture that we have, you know, like we've
yeah,
talked about this a couple times with the Andrew Tate thing. And it's like now I very much see it for what it is. So it's helped me tremendously in so many ways, just studying the way humans fall for these things and how we develop this Stockholm syndrome with it, where we get to a point where like we're revealed the truths about it, but we still don't want to let go because that will feel like a bigger failure.
right.
So much of that going on. And I see this in the truther community all the time with subjects like flat earth, where you see these really heated, like violent arguments about this. And I'm like, are we really getting this worked up over something that none of you guys could prove?
Yeah, it's amazing. The whole thing. It's because you have this theory of something beyond the ice wall, but yet there's no absolute proof of anything beyond the ice wall. There is just speculation, but people will die
There's
in
so
their
many of those
graves.
things.
Yeah. And so many other things. There's lands beyond it. And I'm not saying, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that there isn't, but what I
Right.
am saying is there's no proof of that
Yeah.
theory. There is just an idea.
Yeah.
That's it.
Until you get your ass in a boat and leave the tip of Melbourne, Australia, and just keep going and going and going, and somehow do not get caught by their navy, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I don't want to hear it.
Like it's all theoretical. It's all theoretical.
It's
And
all
that's what's
theoretical.
fun for me, right? I believe we agree on this. I like the philosophy of it. I
Me
thought
too.
that was what truth was all about. I thought it was just about this like mental masturbation. I thought that was the fun part. Like, aren't we just supposed to like be okay with not having the answer?
Yeah. I'm the
Like,
same
does
with you.
life have any answer? Does real life have any answers? Is when you look at the trees and there's leaves, that's right. And when you look at the trees that don't have leaves in the winter, that's wrong. Like, nature doesn't showcase this behavior at all.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
only the human mind
So,
and human intellect. It's
I,
fucking crazy.
it
So
is.
it's like it's very obvious that we want to avoid just the oneness, and that's where the philosophy can't exist. So for me, I guess like if I could surround myself by any type of peoples, it would not be people that are very intelligent or people that are very smart or people who have a lot of information. It would just be surrounding myself with people that are willing to be philosophers.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. We could, when you look at the simplicity of life and you look at the replication of cells, the replication of cells moving from singularity to duality, you then may be able to take into context that a possible position here is that Earth is a cell. It's a nucleus, and that's your ice wall. Because if you look at a cell, a nucleus, there's There's kind of a wall around the entire thing. So that may be the case. But if you look at a nucleus and you look at a cell, there's nothing beyond the cell. The cell is enclosed. That's it. There's nothing beyond that. So then the
Mhm.
theory would then move into, well, maybe there isn't anything beyond the ice wall. I'm with you, man. Unless you get to the ice wall, don't talk to me about it. Don't try to tell me that it's 1 + 1 = 2. That's just nonsensical.
Yeah,
It's a science fiction
yeah.
story right now. That's it. And life beyond the ice wall is science fiction.
And it should just be playful. Like it doesn't need to be this aggressive,
Yeah, it doesn't
like
have to be
my
aggressive.
dad could
Yes.
beat up your dad conversation.
That's what people do. I had mentioned, I said, it's as bad as like I work at 7-Eleven. I'm a manager at 7-Eleven and I'm running over to Circle K and I'm want to calling you out as the manager. Oh, hey, manager, Circle K, come out here. We're going to fight because you don't
Yeah,
work at 7-Eleven.
yeah. But that's very much programmed into us, right? Like I know as a New
Absolutely.
Yorker, I grew up with this whole Mets Yankees thing,
Yeah, that's a good
Jets
one. Sports. Yeah.
Giants.
Yeah. Mets,
Yeah,
Yankees.
like it starts there. We're like
It's there. Yeah.
fucking wild. It's absolutely, and it's not American, by the way. Some people can be like, that's some stupid American. No, it's not. I went to Italy and I went to Roma versus Napoli football
Yep.
game,
Yep.
soccer, and they're fucking crazier, dude.
Are they?
They were shooting flare guns at each other. Flare guns at a human. They were shooting flare guns at each other. It was a zoo.
Wow.
There's sometimes so much activity going on with okay, I'll give an example just really quick. There's this one guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name, it's like Higuain, and he's from Argentina. This was a while ago, and he was this Argentinian player who was just really talented, and he went to go play for Napoli, and now that kind of fits their god Maradona, who's Argentinian, played for
Yeah.
Napoli, and they won all these championships and went to the
I
World
remember
Cup for
Maradona.
Argentina and
Yeah.
won. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So just to give context to the audience, so this guy, I think it's Higuain. He went and played for Napoli. He scores his first goal, and there was so much cheering that it caused seismic activity. A fucking earthquake happened. Like that does not happen at your local
What?
Major League Baseball game. That does not happen at your at a basketball game in America. That does not happen in like that shit happens in Italy all the time. There's so much, and I believe it probably also happens in Portugal and it happens in France because it's a big deal to them. Like it's a way bigger deal. And
Why?
there's a lot of money circulating it too. So I mean, when you study the Europeans and soccer and the stories that are around that, it's so much more cult like, and the fans are just as are worse. So yeah, a lot of people are like very quick to be like to call out America on this. No way, dude. It's so bad in so many ways across so many different things and in every culture in every country. It just might not be in the exact thing. It might be in something else, but it's real, man. Like video game culture in like Korea, shit's intense.
Right. Well, if you think about soccer, man, I mean, I think one of the proponents of having people go crazy when someone scores a goal is that, I mean, if you compare soccer to American football, scoring happens all the time. So it's not a shiny new toy anymore when you watch a game and someone scores 38 points. But in
Yeah.
soccer, sometimes there's only one goal. So the goal is a
Yep.
big deal, right? When you score a touchdown in football, it's like, yeah, people cheer, but okay, it's on to the next thing.
Yeah.
In soccer and in European football, it's a big deal when you get a goal, right?
Yep.
So people get a little bit more. I think that's one of the reasons why they get a little more crazier with
And
the
energetically, it also there's an energetics to this as well because in football, American football, a lot less people are touching the ball compared to how many people are
yeah,
playing
true
on the
too.
field.
Yeah,
But in soccer, European football, so many everyone's touching the ball, you
yeah,
know? Like
yeah, true.
when you're playing American football, the right tackle never touches the ball unless there's
Yeah,
like a fumble or some shit.
yeah,
So, like everybody is getting some energy with this ball, with this bayal. And then yeah, when there's a goal, you just got to think of it as energetics like alchemy. All this energy is pent up, it's building up, and then it gets released.
yeah.
So it's 100% designed in that way. But all the sports are like, we talked about this before with the baseball field and how it's just the Mason diamond.
Yeah.
Um Doesn't matter if the Masons made it's not the point here. It's that to the people that design this world, the architects or what I call the stewards of our realm,
Yeah.
they're just having fun with y'all.
Yep.
They're just having fun with y'all. The same way a cheetah would have fun with like a hyena before it kills it. Like
Yep.
it's all just toying around. You toy around with the lesser thing. And that's how they feel. And I mean, they're very open about it. They literally call us goyim.
Yep.
Like, so, I mean, I just like, I don't take it personally anymore. I see it for what it is. And the best way that I think we could protest it is just don't get fucking caught up in it. Like, go out and play the sport, get exercise. I'm a huge proponent of exercise. Go out and play the sport, have fun, be a child again. But when you take it on as an identity, especially as just solely a consumer of it, and it becomes your identity, that's where you're getting used by it
That's right.
instead of you using it. It's very simple. It comes back to what we talked about at the very beginning about just same with the devices. Is it a tool or is it a weapon? There's nothing wrong with soccer. There's nothing wrong with American football. Just play it. Don't let it play you.
Yeah. Very well said there.
Also,
That's
brother,
a tall.
I have about like, I mean, I don't know, like 20 more minutes or
We have
so if you
9 minutes
want
to
to.
go, so you're going to be actually under your time limit. I have a timer.
Okay, man.
I
I
told you
mean,
an hour and a half. That was our max. We got 9 minutes to go here, so
all right, man.
yeah, so we're good to go. But I think that's a tall order. Like, you know, being somebody who controls, not being controlled by it. I think that's a real tall order for a lot of people because of the programming, the habitual ways of life, reacting versus acting. There are more people in this world that wait for them to make their move so they can make their move.
Mhm.
Way more people that do it that way. Yeah. They're really
Well,
interested in that.
there's a strategy there though, isn't there? Like there's a strategy in being an observer. Like let's just say if you're somebody who is like coded to be a hyena and you need to make a move against a lion, like you better observe that dude because you're not physically strong enough. You don't have strong enough teeth, jaw, talons. Like you're gonna need to work with what you got. You feel me?
Agreed. Yeah.
Like you're very well aware of the code. So like some people just have a code that's just not in the favor of certain things, certain opportunities. It's not to say that it's impossible though, but that's where observe being an observer might be helpful.
hmm
Waiting for something to get weak, you know? Like I've watched this all the time when you see a super small, skinny, like shredded dude having to fight a huge guy who's like kind of out of way, out of shape, but that's just like whatever, the way it went down. And like the strategy for the small dude is just fucking tire the guy out, just run in circles.
Right. Right.
That's your
It's good
strategy.
strategy right now. Yeah. I was merely alluding to the fact of the meme as I've talked with the flat squirrel, the road is paved with flat squirrels who couldn't make a decision. Don't be a flat squirrel. I'm merely just
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, being somebody who moves, like
Right.
most people wait they sit in the middle of the road and they're like, it's been 30 minutes and there's been no cars. Like you're the squirrel. It's like, okay, wait a minute. It's been 30 minutes and I haven't seen a car yet. No, just how about you just move instead of waiting 30 minutes for the car? If their
Yeah.
car comes, you just move. That was my whole point on that. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
there's value to what you just said too, because if you're like playing the markets, you have to watch how the market moves so you can make your move. If it dips down below a certain thing,
Sure.
then like I'm a collector of cryptocurrency. I don't play the market. And I was just thinking this the other day. I'm like, damn, dude, if I would have been sitting there pulling my Bitcoin out when it went up to what did it go up to 71,000 or something crazy at one
Yeah,
point?
yeah.
Yeah.
Quite
If I
recently,
would
yeah.
have pulled it out at 71, I'd have more, but I didn't do that. I went and I didn't even think of it because I just collect it. But I would have more in my stockpile of Bitcoin. But I guess that's just not in the code for me. I don't look at it that way. But I would look at that as being something strategic where a move happens and you make your move. Is that what you were kind of
Yeah.
alluding towards?
Yeah.
In a bit,
And
in a
and
way, in a way.
in so many ways, yeah, that's absolutely one way. I grew up in an environment where like people are naturally more aggressive, people are naturally more violent, and like not all the time are you the one that's the most dominant. And
Right.
like observing is huge where I come from. which I'm not happy about. I don't think like street smarts are helpful in the world for sure. A lot of people lack that completely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've seen in life. But yeah, there's just so many ways to take that idea, and you expressed the side of it that needed to be heard just as much as the side of what I shared, and bringing in the investment side of it as well. There's that component of like knowing how to navigate this without the emotions,
Yeah.
and to have a strategy. Like I think everything is about strategy at the end of the day, even with business, even with communication. Like sometimes when you get into an argument with somebody, even if you love them, the communication gets lost and you start not acting like the true self anymore. Like you
Right.
become this like demon.
Yeah.
And that's not being strategic. That's just throwing fuel into the fire. So like everything is about knowing how to balance the observation between action, and what you were talking about is so important, man, because I think that paralysis is what a lot of people are dealing with in this world right now as we transition into the Aquarian age, in regards to replacing their job for something that might be more on their own terms, creating a business, becoming an entrepreneur, taking those sorts of risks. So 1,000,000%, like, stop fucking waiting for that shit. Like, you should have started yesterday. And
Yeah.
me and you have had 10 podcasts talking about that. So it's like
We have.
anytime you're tuning into me, uh, you know, Logan and I, we're discussing something that is revolving around being actionable.
Yeah. We've talked about that topic quite a bit over our history. Um, so we have a few minutes left here. I thought maybe we could discuss a little bit about a main thing that you would suggest somebody to do to have a more fruitful life, or to be able to accomplish what it is they want to accomplish. And I just want to simply say very quickly that I think that if you're somebody who's in pain, if you're dealing with pain, then I think that that should be a main focal point in your life, to get rid of the pain. And what I mean by pain is like, if you have a bad hip, or if you have, some kind of something medically, you have some kind of pain, whatever, to get out of that pain, because pain causes you to suffer, not only suffer, but it takes away from your ability to focus. And when you can't focus, you can't
Yeah,
do
that's right.
exactly what it is that you want to do. So you got to do whatever it takes to get you out of that pain. Maybe you need to start drinking more water, start incorporating more alkalinity into your food regimen. But getting out of pain would be your priority. And then once you get out of that pain, then you can now start to have relief. And when you have relief, you're calm. When you're agitated, man, and you're not calm, it's really hard to do what it is that you came here to do. How about you, Jordan? What's your take on that? What would you say would be a big thing for people to consider?
Regarding like just in life in general,
Yeah,
or
like what would get
regarding
them faster or closer to what it is that they came here to do and be a part of? Obviously, like I said, pain is like getting rid of your pain, so you're not in agitation. Would be you're in bliss. You're at least at peace.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And if you're someone who's not in pain, just prevent it. Prevent it as much as you can. Like if you're somebody who's doing fucking 600-pound deadlifts, like you better get your form right. I would be paying the best deadlift guy on earth to come teach me how to do it perfectly, because you do one of those wrong, you snap your shit up. Like that'll be the last deadlift you ever
Well,
do.
if you're not a
So
power,
like if you
go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, just no, 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 it's okay. And I know you're much more savvy in this conversation than I am, but my bigger point is just like, well, a lot of what gets us into pain is doing a lot of things improperly because we have poor posture, and we don't really care too much about that posture because perhaps when we're younger we feel invincible, and then we're unaware of the compounding effect over time on the joints, the ligaments, and then acidity, etc., gut microbiota. But yeah, like if I was somebody that doesn't have any pain, and you hear Logan's words of wisdom, which were very powerful, like it's about preventative in that case. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to share anything really quickly, and then I could,
Well, I was just, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'm thinking, pain, getting out of pain, but also I think really the simple answer is to simplify your life. That's it. Like
Mhm.
I'm a minimalist, so of course I'm going to be a little biased, as they would call it, right? I'm a minimalist, so I don't really own anything. My life is simple. I have a very simple life. But as I said, that you would start attaching yourself to things on the world stage that are big, and they start to consume you. So how do you set? Simplification is where that quote from Oscar Wilde, the great poet, says, hell is holding on, heaven is letting go. Where's your hell in life? And how can you let it go? And if you let it go, that's simplifying your life. Simple to me is the way that really gives you the best outcome in this life.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And I guess my one thing that I would add, if I had to like give one word that could propel somebody into the more clear state, it would be forgiveness. Like
Mm.
that's my number one thing. I like take a moment when you're done with this podcast, to just reflect on the thing that it's been the most difficult for you to forgive. And I can guarantee you that if you tap into the forgiveness of that, or what Logan just said a moment ago, let go, your fucking wings will sprout from your back. You will become a more divine self at that moment, because that is the exact thing that is controlling you, that is basically keeping you from your expansion. And forgiveness to me is the secret ingredient. It's not secret, but we overlook it.
Overlook
And
it. I was
we,
just going to say overlook it. Yeah.
even though some of us know about it, we don't want to exercise it because of that stubbornness, that pride, that feeling that, you deserve something. That's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. Like, Logan brought up this eye in the sky thing, whether that be your higher self, your inner child, whether that be soul, whatever. Like, to me, that thing, once you've exercised forgiveness on the thing that's the toughest to exercise it on, that thing really like becomes clear to you.
Mm.
That outcome that you're, perhaps seeking. And then through it all, I think you enter a new process in life. Everything tastes different, everything smells different, everything looks different. You become much more in tune, as opposed to before you were like slightly off tune. So every chord you struck was like not in harmony with all the things that were surrounding you. There was this bitterness to you. So yeah, that'd probably be the one thing. And I think that ultimately will avoid the most pain and suffering moving forward.
Totally. I think I think that kind of attaches itself to many different aspects of being, but I think you're spot on. I think that people, this forgiveness that is freeing, the hell is holding on, heaven is letting go. These areas of resentment and anger and bitterness, they become, like, I look at life like a computer, right? Like, on your computer you have folders. And inside the
Mhm.
folders, there's contents of the folder. There's files in there. There's JPEGs. There's MP3s. There's MP4s. The same thing. The folders inside of your body are filled with things such as anger, resentment, and
Mhm.
when you hold on to those, they fester, they grow, and these can be associated to and attach themselves to pain. Pain, right? They turn into pain. So I think that that's spot on. I think that's a very, very beautiful way to look at it, is simply just what can you let go of, which is about forgiveness. So I think that may be the nice message at the tail end of this is, if you're listening to this
100%.
all the way to the end, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us today. I think the great message here was at the very end, and that is, where can you find some forgiveness in your life that will release the pain that's in your life? Not only for those that are you're still the silver linings attached to, but the pain inside of your body that is something that you have to let go of, to give you the relief, to give you the bliss in life to start creating from as a influencer, as a content creator. Beautifulness. Well, brother, it's been an honor and a pleasure. We just right over that at 1.5 hour mark, short and sweet. One of our shorter ones, probably our shortest one. But
Mhm.
anyway, it
Yeah.
was impactful. It had a lot of great layers to it. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives on it. It was a lot of fun. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining in for this podcast. I don't even know what number it is. I think I keep going out of order, but
It's probably like 13 or something.
something like that. Yeah. Or I don't know what it is. But anyways, it doesn't matter. It's just, what is today? Today's Friday, so it's a Venus day. in that
Yeah,
card.
the 17th.
17.
17th.
17 being the
Yeah.
star card. So be the star of the show. All these layers that we talked about are all trying to get you to be the star of the show, to focus on
Actually,
you.
before we wrap this up, I do have a question for you and
Oh,
your
yeah.
work.
Okay.
Do
Sure.
you have any decoding stuff that you've seen specifically with astrology about the month of June or anything in the short term that's been interesting to you? Like, I'm not sure how you've been decoding lately, like where you've been putting most of your energy. I know you typically do these presentations, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, if there's been any standout dates. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, you know what, dude? I'm coming out with a video on how to look at your two different life paths in numerology. Me, because the typical life path is you add up your birthday, right? Well, because the pre-Julian calendar moves your whatever, like you're born in March. Well, March is the third month in Gregorian, but it's not the third month in pre-Julian. It's going to be the first month.
Right.
So this
Mhm.
changed has changed a lot of things for me, a lot. And
Yeah, I've
my
been
life
talking about
path
this for a
became,
while.
oh man, yeah. And my life path became, I became a nine life path, which is my Gregorian is eight. I became a nine, and the nine was like, damn, this defines me much better than the eight, right?
Hmm.
And so I got to do a video on this for the collective. But this has moved all the months 2 months back. So when you're looking at something that happens in May, well, that May becomes the third month, and then the three becomes very significant. So I mean, if you're asking me like astrologically, there's so many moving parts though, because you have the transits, the current positions, and
Hmm.
then you have to
Hmm.
look at what happened on those days and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of raw reference. We were talking about the word drama. It's got the word raw in it, draw, and then ma, which is the mother, drama,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. So there's a lot of raw reference. And then, what does that mean? But the calendar months are very, very interesting when you push them back. And then could something happen? And we could do maybe our next podcast. We could talk about next year, because next year is the year of the snake. And I know you talked about it.
Yeah.
Listen to your lives quite a bit, dude. The year of the snake is Virgo. That's a freaking big, big Chinese zodiac. And the Vatican just
Hmm.
released something on it being a holy year next year, 2025.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I somebody sent me that. So, but
Okay. Yeah, that's
yeah,
sick. Yeah, there's so much. Yeah, maybe let's do a
the
round
snake,
two,
right?
kind of shorter one like this, and just talk about more the esoteric and some of the stuff for the rest of the year and anything that you could find. Because yeah, man,
Have you
this
found something?
up.
What have you found?
Well, like I mean, it's mostly what I do, so there's so many things. It's like yeah, but one of the things that I've noticed in this particular year of the dragon is the significance of September.
Okay.
And yeah, we've seen in a lot of these dragon years that the markets in particular are rising into July, August, and then in several iterations, they top out in September. And it very much seems to be in alignment with Rosh Hashanah. Now, what's so fascinating about Rosh Hashanah this year, the Hebrew New Year, is that it's going to be on that total solar eclipse on October 2nd. So, like, whilst we're in the 5784 year, which adds up to 24, and
Uh-huh.
like, of course, that synchronizes with our Gregorian year. Well, like, we're going to be transitioning into that 5785, that 25 year,
Yep.
right on that eclipse. So, yeah, man, I mean, it must be a very, very powerful time. And then, of course, the elections follow that. And I know they're going to build up as much drama as possible for that. So, yeah,
There
man,
is
I mean, I've
any,
been doing some, sorry.
if there even is any elections.
Right, and that's another thing that a lot of people have been sharing with me their thoughts. So like the possibility of there being no election, and I'm cool with that too. So yeah, I mean I've been doing a ton of work in the background. I think I told you on the call before we connected that I'm doing this crypto decoding blueprint. It's going to be a smaller, not like a full-fledged course, but it's going to be something smaller, very compact, and it's going to have a lot of data pushed into smaller videos, just showing like the undeniable cyclical nature of Bitcoin in these lunar and solar cycles, and like why we have bull runs and bear markets in those cycles.
Uh-huh.
And it's showing that throughout maybe Q1 of the year of the snake, the markets could stay bullish into that time frame. And if we go back to the last year of the snake, that was also the case. Like Bitcoin had a crazy run up into 2013. Now I'm not sure what else was going on in the world stage in 2013. Like I haven't studied too deep into specifically that, but we watched the market rise into a solar eclipse in the year of the snake, and then it followed with like an 80% correction across the board. Like almost every altcoin took a shit if they even existed back then. But specifically the Bitcoin chart,
Huh.
80 something percent correction in like a couple days. So it was just like all this pent up energy, and then boom, big, big move to the
We'll have to
downside.
yeah,
So yeah.
we'll have to get more into. I do know that uh, Virgo is September. It can be October in the Vedic, and that's Virgo's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the caduceus, which has the snakes on it. So this could be a big
Mhm.
upcoming 2025 year for the year of the snake and the Virgo season, September. So we'll have to wait, and that's the way you think. Mercury, Mercury tied to the child, from father, mother, child. The child being
Mhm.
Bitcoin in the sense.
Yeah, and one quick thing, because you brought up the date numerology, and we've talked about this. I talk about it a lot because of people that come to my channel and they talk about numerology in general tied to birthdays. And it's important for me to talk about what you just mentioned, like the whole March being the first month, etc. So plenty of everyone here should know that by now. But I have been talking with somebody that speaks Hebrew, and
Hmm.
they've been sharing with me all these esoteric ways to write the word waters above. And I don't want to call it like imposter syndrome, but I love actually studying real gematria, which is only possible with Hebrew.
Right.
Everything else is just a kind of a, what would we call it, customized version. But needless to say, when he gave me the like most esoteric way to write waters above, it comes out as to 316 in Hebrew, and
Ah,
that's March 16th, my birthday, if
nice.
I was to look at it in the Gregorian system. So I'm like, fuck, that is so wild. Like how. Anyways, I just thought that was something to share with you real quick, that I
Well,
thought was pretty
on top of
synchronistic.
that, the 66th so Bethlehem, the birthing of the city of Christ, is when you add up the latitude longitude, it's 66. The 66th element is called dysprosium, and the most abundant isotope is 163, which is a permutation of the 316 or the
Yeah,
163. Yeah, so
wild. Do you ever
wild.
do any Hebrew stuff, like any Hebrew gematria?
Oh, I use Hebrew all the time. I love it. It's really actually a lot of people
Okay,
don't know
okay.
this, but it's closely linked to Chaldean. Like it's the most
Mm,
closely linked
okay,
cipher outside of Hebrew. Chaldean is.
okay,
Uh, but I love Hebrew. I uh, I love the phonetic aspect of it. I like the way the letters are shaped. Um, so yeah, yep.
okay. Yeah, let's reconnect and talk more about the end of this dragon year and the year of the snake and some of our thoughts on how this can all can go. I could share my thoughts on the market. You could share your thoughts on some of the things that you're seeing as well. And I think that'd be a really dope, hour and a half, 2 hours for us to get together and
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So that'll be a next one. So stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, brother. Well, listen, it's been an honor and a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for waiting all the way to the end of this to finish this one out. We went past what our plan time was, but it's all good. We improv everything. So that's all we got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Jordan over at Waters Above. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later.